This episode is brought to you in part by the Apologetics Guy Show, the podcast that helps you find clear answers to tough questions about Christianity. Learn to explain your faith with courage and compassion. Join Moody Bible Institute professor Dr. Mikel Del Rosario at apologeticsguy.com.
What follows is a bonus episode of Truce. It doesn't fit into the normal flow of Season 6, which is exploring why some evangelicals tied themselves to the Republican Party in the 1970s and 80s. If you want to pick up that story, go back to the first episode, which is called Prologue, What is Biblical? Because the season is so heavy, I want to take a break to maybe spur you on to your next steps in your faith journey. God willing, I'll be back with more of the regular season in a few weeks. Let me know what you think by emailing me at trucepodcast@yahoo.com. This is the Camino del Norte, Part 1. My twin brother Nick and I were recently on a long hike, 250 miles across the northern coast of Spain, on an old Catholic pilgrimage known as the Camino del Norte. We sat down at our pension, a small hotel, to discuss the day. One memory was walking through this stand of trees that were kind of old, gnarly-looking trees, all these funky rocks, and we were inside of a goat pen. There were goats all over with bells on them. They were a little skittish around us, but it's still dramatic with all the rain going on. After walking along the coast in the rain, we came to the small town of Rio Seco, a collection of buildings with a grocery store right next to the highway that spills into a light industrial area. Next to the grocery store is a park with a medieval stone path leading up to a bridge over a creek. At the top of the bridge stood a young woman in maybe her late 20s. And we started talking with her. She was speaking to us in English. She had been a pilgrim previously, had walked from the Netherlands all the way to Santiago in various trips. Today was like exactly the kind of person you normally talk with, I think.
Yeah, 100%, because I work at a small Baptist church back home, and here I was able to use a lot of the skills of trying to ask good questions and then encourage somebody and then use the Bible verses to steer them back to the gospel. And then we were able to actually pray with her too.
She asked if she could record Nick encouraging her, and she gave me permission to record her as well.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Nick. We met on a bridge in this beautiful little town, and I want you to know that God loves you and that He cares about you and you're not forgotten.
She, like a lot of people on the Camino, had gone on the hike in order to wrestle with something. What to do with the next phase of life? Should she have children? Her struggles with capitalism and her desire to build a life based on bartering instead of money. What did she really believe about God and Jesus? Can we pray for you?
Sure.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah. Well, you know, having a personal connection with God is as simple as just talking and being honest and being ugly.
It doesn't have to be pretty.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be long. Lord Jesus, when I lift up who is trying to find her way in this world, I pray that you would give her a home, a career, love in her life. And
super deep, super fast. Yeah, and it was neat because we live in a vacation town, so a lot of people come in and out, and you have to quickly be able to see what they need. And also, because there's so many drifters, you have to be able to kind of talk to them about the beauty of permanence and making roots someplace and building a friendship circle and having people who check in on you and love you. And it seemed like she was really longing for that, but trying to make an excuse to not get it. It was really special. I think we talked to her for over an hour.
Yeah.
We were just very vulnerable, and she had 2 notebooks that she would journal in regularly, one which was her happy thoughts, and the other one literally had a volcano on the outside of it, and that was her mean thoughts to herself and about the world. And so she even shared from those, which was really cool.
Neither Nick nor I are evangelists, but we try to stay open to talking to people about Jesus, to listen to people, to minister to them, to help them or give advice, to sit with them in quiet if that's what they need. We don't design these trips as mission trips. Actually, they're vacations, and we don't have much of an agenda. Caminos are hard on the body, but often good for the soul. Today, I want to take you on a journey as we cover 250 miles, hike on roads, trails through industry, and swim in the ocean. We'll meet new friends and learn what leads a person to cross a country or multiple countries, and how an old Catholic pilgrimage has become a place where people go to search for meaning. It won't be easy. No good pilgrimage is. You'll hear from people who love God and those who don't. Not so we can debate them, but so we can hear them. Challenges to Christianity, to our history, and people looking for something bigger than themselves. Wrestling with life's questions, entering pseudo-spiritual organizations that prey on drifters, discovering simple kindnesses. Sometimes shows like Truce can creep into finger-pointing. The church should do this or shouldn't do that. Today, I want to call all of us to be the church, wherever we wander. Pick up your pack, grab your walking sticks, and join us. You're listening to the show that uses journalistic tools to look inside the Christian church. We press pause on the culture wars in order to explore how we got here and how we can do better. I'm Chris Staron, and this is Truce. The Camino has a strange history and is actually more than one trail. The Norte, the oldest, is along the northern coast. The Frances runs east-west through the middle. The Portuguese routes are north-south from Lisbon to Santiago. You can walk from Turkey following a Camino, or France. There are webs of them all across Europe, many of them leading to the bustling city of Santiago de Compostela in the west of Spain, with lots of tourist traffic, ice cream shops, restaurants, and lodging that caters to pilgrims. The trails converge on a large square and a giant cathedral. This cathedral, started in 1078, as legend has it, is the resting place for the bones of St. James, one of Jesus' apostles. If you go inside and approach the altar, you'll find a door to the right down a set of stairs. Inside, you can see a silver box containing the relics. Pilgrims have traveled there for over 1,000 years, some for religious purposes, others as criminals who were forced to walk as part of their sentence, a journey that could take years and claim the lives of many. Others hiked to absolve their sins, something that Pope Calixtus II declared could happen if they did it on a year where St. James's Day fell on a Sunday. In the 12th and 13th centuries, as many as 250,000 pilgrims made one of these journeys. Today, these routes are experiencing a renaissance, as hundreds of thousands walk for their own reasons, to the chagrin of seasoned hikers who think the routes are too crowded. Our journey began near the French border in the large city of Donostia San Sebastian, where we obtained our credentials from the Basilica.
Welcome to Turkey together.
That's correct.
Lucky you.
Aren't we? We've done two of them together and one of them separate.
Oh, okay.
The credential is a long, folded piece of paper.
You get for each other.
Yes, we do.
Your mom and your dad, they should be really proud of you.
Yeah,
I think they are.
Yeah.
Then we stepped into the sunshine and surveyed our purchases.
2 years to get this little book. As we go along, these pages will start filling up with stamps, and we're supposed to get stamps every time you spend the night. It's also a way for you to prove to the albergues, or the hostels, that you are indeed hiking the Camino.
The credential is your proof that you're on the hike, the document you show at the end to obtain a certificate if you reach Santiago. We were only going to do about half the route, so these booklets would just be for us. We got up early the next day and took the train to Irún to start our walk.
Which makes it intimidating, because you can see every stop, every step you're going to have to take on the way back. We're going to cut over the mountains. Yep, well, that's the truth. Okay, this is us, right? I think so. Fikova.
From the train station, it was just a short walk to the start of the trail, which meant locating a certain bridge. One side is in Spain, the other is in France.
Chris and I love France, visiting France, French food. So we're going to dip our toes into France real quick. Tempting to go over there and get a baguette and some cheese and some...
One side of the bridge looks out on a rail yard, the other into some housing. Unlike other trails we've hiked, there was no monument or sign, or even a plaque in the ground with a shell on it. It was just a bridge.
Is the Camino down there, or are we on it now? We're on it now.
Okay.
We're just backtracking. We just have to go a little bit further.
Yeah. When we reached the bridge, after walking along some busy roads, we stopped so that Nick could grab some video of me.
We got about 15 miles to go, heading into Irún. And I didn't tell Chris, but he has sunscreen all over his face. I just wanted to get the shot of him with sunscreen all over his face. Oh, boogers.
And just like that, we were off, with a quick salute to the old TV show, Laverne and Shirley.
We're at the start of our Camino.
Shamil,
Schmazel, Hots and Pepper Incorporated.
Irún is a surprisingly big city where, despite all of Nick's work with the app, we quickly got on the wrong trail and had to cut through a bunch of side streets to to get back on track.
What are you hoping to get out of this, Nick? Anything in specific?
Yeah, I was saying I've been really stressed at home and just trying to relax a little bit and process through, pray through some things that come up, and it's really mostly nonsense, or things that beat you up from the past, and just be able to pray through and put those things away and gain some confidence too. I think I've come away from both of the Caminos having a little sense of confidence that I definitely lack in my normal life. Yeah, how about you?
Well, I'm hoping to meet some new people, which is very fun. Which also feels a little silly because we know an insane number of people.
We sure do, with lots of friends.
But also, I wanted to bring the listeners on this trip because we're covering a lot of really heavy material this season on the show. And I want to restore some hope in humanity along the way, especially now in a time of so much political turmoil. I think we sometimes forget our shared humanity and the way that Christ can pierce through all of that kind of junk and push us to love our neighbors and invest in other people who are maybe different than us, try big things, and rest in that grace, which is one of the things I was thinking about as I was on the train here. I was all bunched up and thinking, there's got to be something I have to do. And it's like, no, you just have to ride this train. Sometimes it's okay to just rest in grace.
Walking across a different country to see the beauty of different things, to get to know people from different cultures is really eye-opening, to peel back that idea that we have everything the best, we're number one, we're always on the top. And no.
Other people are okay too.
Yeah, maybe we don't have every answer,
The first hour or two was just city walking, through side streets, crossing crowded intersections. At the edge of town, we switched to a muddy path that we likely wouldn't have been able to find without the benefit of GPS. Soon we connected with a pair of pilgrims and started uphill. We stopped on the patio of a church to talk with a new friend.
Where do I have to put it on? Or just keep it like this? No.
We can just clip it on your shirt.
Be forewarned, this is a Camino conversation, and people go deep quickly.
What is your name?
My name is Diana. I'm from Germany, Leipzig. From the eastern part of Germany.
Fantastic.
Beautiful city, by the way. You should visit it.
I want to. It has a lot of history in Leipzig.
Yeah, you are invited.
Oh,
Let me know. I can show you around.
Well, we just met each other, so you may not want to invite me just yet.
Oh,
but
I think I have a good feeling.
Oh, okay, good. Is this your first Camino?
No, it's my third, actually.
The third Camino. And
Or I would say 2.5.
Okay.
Because I had to interrupt the first one. I went on the Camino Portuguese in 2022. I was almost there. And then my dad died.
Oh my goodness.
So I, of course, went home immediately. And for me, it was clear that I would walk it again, also for my dad. And did the whole thing again until Santiago. I think it's what people say, whether you go the Camino once and never again, or you go it once and over again. And as you see, I think I have the virus, the Camino virus. Yeah.
And the second Camino, when you went, was that for your dad?
Also,
you wanted to finish that?
I left a stone there for him in the woods. And I had time to grieve the second time. But also that feeling of being by myself, it's kind of a meditation for me, just to walk, minimalistic lifestyle. You don't have to think about a lot, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you have time to think, and also for your emotions. You don't have the time in your daily life.
Well, and these are old Catholic pilgrimages. Is there any kind of religious aspect to why you're hiking, or?
Honestly, not, because I come from the former east of Germany, and there, the church was not a big thing. A lot of people are atheistic. Do you say that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm more spiritual, and I have the feeling that there is something. I don't know if it's necessarily God, but I believe in something. It's not that I don't believe in anything. Yeah. Yeah, the area where I come from, there are some Catholic people, because it's like a minority. They are called the Sorbs. They also have another language, and they are really Catholic. But else, in the eastern part, you have a lot of people that don't believe. But also nowadays, more and more, again.
And is that mostly because of communism?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you hope to get out of this Camino?
This Camino del Norte, this time I just want to go and just enjoy and see how it is to walk 840 kilometers. And the Camino already tested me. My backpack didn't arrive. It's still in Paris. So I came here just with what I had on, and just the clothes I had in my hand luggage. And now I have to be very minimalistic. And I just hope that it arrives tonight at my hotel. Fingers crossed. But, you take it as it is. And this is, I think, the Camino makes you stronger, and you can deal with these things better also in the daily life. You think like, okay, the train isn't coming, so what? Then it's not coming. It's okay. So I can say everything is stupid now, but I can also say, okay, let's drink a coffee and go on.
I love that.
Yeah.
It has made you more confident,
Yes.
and you trust that everything will work out.
Right.
We continued to hike with Diana and another woman, cresting a beautiful hill, before descending into the town of Pasea. After crossing the river on a small boat, we exchanged contact information and parted ways. It's never easy to say goodbye to a new friend, but Nick spotted a museum, and he really wanted to go inside.
Whale products for centuries. Yeah, we are at a whaling museum between Irun and San Sebastian. Yes. What would you just read?
Oh, so I was just reading Basques started whale hunting on the Basque coast, and they were only explorers of the whale products for centuries.
It was the definition of what middle-aged men want in a museum. Boats, rough-hewn wood, plaques. According to the museum, the Basque people, and we were in Basque country, were really into whaling and cod fishing off the coast of Canada. The San Juan, which sank in 1565, was a ship from this region.
And they found it in 1978, and we're going to go see a replica as they're rebuilding it. This is middle-aged man
This is
candy
great.
right here. This is great.
And we got a discount, so that's like cheap middle-aged man candy.
It was a charming little museum with lots of information about life on a whaling vessel. But the best part was seeing the replica itself, built using the same techniques they employed in the 1500s.
We're stepping out onto this wooden plank, and you suddenly get to see what looks like Noah's Ark almost. This wooden craft that, it's got to be 30 feet tall.
Surprisingly cool.
Surprisingly cool. Well, Nick has read a lot about various ships and the kinds that were meant to crash through ice and things like that, say.
Well, it's kind of neat about the whaling stuff. Of course, it was devastating for the whale population, but when they were hunting them, they would kill the whale with harpoons and things, and then when it would float to the top, they would actually climb out onto the whale and scoop out the innards and stuff from standing on the whale. They're in open ocean on a whale.
Oh my gosh.
And
And some of those guys couldn't swim.
Yes, which is bananas, right? Why would you go to sea and not swim?
And go stand on a whale.
You go stand in a whale. Yeah, I know. So it's just crazy to think of how dangerous this job was.
That is really cool.
Okay, this was worth it already.
We spent about an hour in the museum, seeing how they forged metal, built things with tools from centuries ago, asked a bunch of questions. Alas, there are only so many hours in a day, and if we wanted to reach our room before dark, we had to get going, which meant doing a lot of steps up to a popular trail where we could see a large stone lighthouse that looked like it was growing out of a castle. We finished the day in San Sebastian, coming down a steep hill and walking along the expansive beaches.
Well, we are heading up a muddy trail here. You can probably hear the birds. We woke up this morning in San Sebastian and got a reasonable start around 8 in the morning and walked along the coast. It was a beautiful sunny day as there were street cleaners coming out and other pilgrims hitting the road. And we're surrounded on both sides by hillside ferns, moss, and a little bit of mud underneath.
Nick and I were both tired. Nick spent much of his evening searching for hiking sandals because his shoes, which he tested at great length in the United States, were hurting his feet. He did the rest of the trail in sandals, a subject that fascinated other hikers, and caused him to stop about 20 times a day to shake out a pebble.
You've kind of touched on this morning a theme, is the right piece of equipment goes a long way. Oh my gosh, it does. A bunch of our clothes are still damp from last night. We even had a fan running in the room to circulate the air, which I think was part of Chris's misery. Oh well, but it blocked out the sound of everybody locking and unlocking their doors. Yeah, it seems to be a downside of the European hostel and pension situation is they have these old locks and it's hard to know which way to spin them and they're loud. I don't have to fight for America, but I will defend American locks to my grave.
Yeah, that's right.
They are effective, they're quiet.
They make a lot more sense.
Yeah. One of those eternal questions is why do we keep doing Caminos? or long hikes when we could be going to Paris and getting a hotel and staying put. But I really enjoy this sort of purposeful meandering that we have to do every day. We don't have to stop and think about what we're going to do. You just walk. I see this as a good time of prayer and meditation, trying to be available for whatever God has.
Our destination for the night was Zarutz, about 22 kilometers from San Sebastian. Up in the hills, we met a tall Korean-American man who would become one of our friends.
My name's Wan Ho.
Wan Ho, where are you from?
From New York City, New York.
Fantastic. And what made you want to come out and hike this trail?
So there's a combination of things. Having thought about, things at work, the career growth and career progression that I was thinking about, there were certain things that didn't really make sense for me. So I think I needed the time to kind of step back and think a little bit more about, what my career meant to me and what kind of space I wanted it to occupy in my life. There's also kind of a more personal aspect too, where, my wife also finished her first round of IVF. So it's also another time for me to just kind of think about, as we're considering this new phase of our life, like, what kind of father do I want to be? What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of partner do I want to be? And it's hard to think about that while you're in New York.
Yeah.
And, kind of going on the Camino affords me the opportunity to think about all of those different things.
Yeah, I think that's a huge amount of things to think about.
Oh, tons. Up here, it's definitely not going to be bored.
That's amazing. What kind of father do you want to be?
I think about how our family had to kind of, so background information, first generation immigrant. So I kind of think about how parenting had to be when I was a kid and how hard my parents had to work. There's good things and there's bad things to that, right? And I think kind of, some of the things that really kind of come up for me are, some of the things where I thought, they could have been more present. So I think for me, that's maybe something that I'm thinking about a little bit more openly. And of course, that also goes hand in hand with the career stuff too, right?
Yeah,
so
being in finance, it's kind of hard to walk away from, if the markets are crashing or booming, you can't just walk away.
Right. So
we're on a 1,000-year-old Catholic pilgrimage. Is there any kind of religious bent to this or any meaningful side of that?
Not for me. I used to be religious actually,
Yeah.
but I've grown a bit away from religion over the past few years. I think right now I'd probably define myself as agnostic, atheist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Has it been because of the political climate and all the things that have changed? I mean, you don't have to answer any of this, obviously. But.
To a certain extent, I think for me, reading certain parts of the Bible and reading what it says started to kind of deviate from things that I personally believed. I think the Bible does a great job of laying down maybe some good ground rules.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are there.
Yeah.
Especially now with the way that people have gotten sort of meaner and more dug in their worlds and tied to conspiracy theories and things. One of my hopes with the podcast is to kind of keep pushing people back to the gospel, the basic idea that Jesus died for you, loves you, and can forgive you. And that's been sort of the main goal, and to be like, cut the political ties, stop being a jerk, stop trying to make the world look like you, and just try to live life as a follower of God. That's the sort of the mission of the podcast, as well as being a history and economics show. Hey man, thank you. And are you planning on finishing in Santiago, or are you gonna?
That's the plan.
Okay.
That's the plan. I bought a one-way ticket here. I'll go back when I'm done.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You may have noticed a pattern. Many of the people we've met on 3 different Caminos are not there for religious reasons. Most are there for contemplation, not to pray or talk with God, despite seeing church after cathedral after monastery. We hiked with Wan Ho for a while, but he was more driven than us. So he pushed ahead, though we spent several days crossing paths, enjoying meals, and teaching each other stretches. We hiked alone for most of the afternoon, arriving in a small surfing city.
Yesterday we arrived into camp at 7:30, and so today we left a little bit earlier. We left around 8 o'clock in the morning, but we arrived here in town, got in Zarutz, got everything set up, and it's 2:45 in the afternoon. Kind of an amazing distance to cover.
Now that we were at our hostel, one with about 10 beds in our room, we had a bunch of chores to do. This hostel has got some really great features, including bunk beds that are not like the wobbly metal kind, but actually like sturdy, solidly built, almost cabinet-like structures. And they've got curtains across it, which is always amazing.
And she just opened up a little bit of space for us to dry a few things.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I already hung my stuff out. So
okay.
that's one of the other chores you have to do, which is you often
away.
Come in, and while it's still sunny outside, you try to wash your stuff in the sink and then hang it out to dry. But it is pretty humid here as compared to the French route, so it may not necessarily dry. But our stuff didn't dry from yesterday. We got to do something.
Yeah.
Supposedly the public hostel tomorrow has a laundry machine. So we are standing on an old road that was built in the medieval times, which means rounded rocks and a steep hill.
Very steep hill. Yeah, quite the way to start out the morning.
Yesterday, we got back to the hostel after enjoying the beach and almost immediately got invited to go join a group. A guy from the Netherlands and one from Switzerland. And I think the lady was from the Netherlands as well.
I think so, yeah.
Nick and I don't drink, but we joined them for a beer. Well, we had a Fanta.
Ooh.
Each had a Fanta.
Talked for a good long time until the wind blew in. And there were these shutters on the restaurant where we were, and they're slamming against the window like at the beginning of some kind of disaster movie.
Which meant there would likely be rain the next day. Okay, before we continue, let's take a brief sidebar. Years ago, I made a conscious decision to be hard to offend. I'm not saying it's impossible to offend me, I just want to be harder to offend. That way, hopefully, it's easier for me to hear the heart behind what people are saying instead of getting caught up in the potentially offensive words that come out of their mouths. This has been helpful when talking with people who disagree with me, or those who take issue with evangelicalism. Counting it as a blessing that someone is being honest, even if they're saying negative things about my people. When walking through a Catholic region past monasteries and convents, pilgrims, in their moments of honesty, sometimes talk about their issues with the Catholic Church. I say all this to encourage you to listen to the rest of the episode with the intention of being hard to offend, preferring, instead, to hear the heart behind those comments.
The lady started opening up. The Pope came on television because here in April 2025, he's recently passed, and so they're preparing for the funeral. She was expressing her distaste for that kind of pomp and circumstance of the Catholic Church and all the money spent on all the gold and the relics and all that kind of stuff, the filigree. She grew up Catholic, but when her father died, they stopped going and her mother goes alone now. Once again, we've gone a ways on the trail, talked to a bunch of people, and even though this is a religious pilgrimage, haven't met anybody who is Christian.
Yeah, not yet.
Protestant or Catholic. Do you remember how many Caminos she's done? I think it was 6.
Yeah, it was 6 or 8. I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
And I think she said 72 or 73.
Yeah.
She's still going. She says this might be her last. I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, she's full of life and really seems to enjoy this and feel home here.
Yeah.
On the trail.
So are you feeling more comfortable with yourself so far?
Yeah, I'm finally starting to relax, which is really nice, and feeling more confident. My right foot still has some pains, but it's okay. It's not that bad, and I just keep stretching, and I found out after the first Camino that I really have to bend and twist and massage my right foot every night to the point where it hurts, and then the next day I'm okay to walk again.
My cup was filled up by going out with people. It's one of my all-time favorite things on the trail. I hope we can keep doing it. Tonight, we're going to have another quintessential trail experience, which is going to a municipal hostel, which means it'll be cheap. It should be only about €8. But you can't reserve these in advance, so you have to trust that you're going to beat everybody else there. There are only 56 beds, and we're hoping we can get one of them, or 2 of them. There's a rainstorm perhaps a mile to the north of us, out over the ocean. So I'm hoping it stays where it is.
Spoiler alert, it did not. When we return, more interviews with interesting people. While you listen to the ads, why not subscribe to the show in your podcasting app? It's free, and it means that you'll get every new episode as it's released. Okay, here come the ads. Hey friends, a few weeks ago I went to a fascinating talk where the guy who invented the infinite scroll told us about the future of AI. According to him, scientists are now predicting that we're just a few years away from the majority of the content on the internet being AI generated. It was a wild talk, and it reinforced to me how important it is to have real stories told by real people using reliable sources. And that's what Truce is. When it comes to fundraising, we're doing pretty well, but things are still pretty tight on this end. And I have a goal of someday hiring staff for the show. If you'd like to be a part of making Truce more sustainable, visit trucepodcast.com/donate. Even $10 a month goes a long way. Even if now's not the time for you to give money, there are so many ways to help out. For one, you can email your favorite history, religious, or chit-chat podcasts and suggest that they interview me for their show. 2, leave a 5-star review on your podcasting app. 3, post about Truce on social media. You can share an episode or one of the many videos I've been making on social media. Finally, and most importantly, remember the show in prayer. Thanks for listening to Truce, a real show made by a real person about real issues. Welcome back. Today, as a bonus episode, I'm taking you on a religious pilgrimage in the north of Spain.
Good morning. We're standing outside the train station in Deba, which is a cute little city, but we stayed last night in the train station, actually on what we call in the United States the second and third floor, but here is the first and second floor.
Of an active train station.
Of an active train station. So literally just outside the walls of our hostel are trains going by every hour. It actually was a lovely hostel with nice people. Yesterday, we didn't get to record much because it rained a ton. So I didn't want to get the microphones wet, but I fell into some thistles yesterday and got a big rash and raised bumps on my legs and on my hands. We had to hustle the last 3 kilometers into Deba, try to get to the pharmacy, and there are actually 2 pharmacies in Deba, but they were both closed. In Spain, you can't just walk in any grocery store and get medications like Benadryl or something. You have to go to a pharmacy, and they were both closed. So we came to the hostel. I quickly got a shower and got on a train and went all the way back to San Sebastian to find an open pharmacy. Once I found one, got a cream that burned, and got back here to find that Nick was having a lively conversation with some folks at a tavern. We had a wonderful conversation, met some new people, caught up with some of the old folks that we've talked with before, and I ended up having like a serious gossip conversation with 3 different people, which was pretty amazing to wander into that after all that sort of fuss and muss yesterday. Nick did a fantastic job taking care of me. One of the guys has had some very big questions, especially around like how can God forgive a serial killer, who killed a bunch of people when I've been, quote unquote, a good person. So one of the things I recommended was C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce.
Those are the kids coming home from the party last night, because on the platform there were a bunch of kids just standing there. So these guys might be the revelers from last night.
Yeah, we've seen packs of young people, probably in their late teens, early 20s, wandering around the streets of Deba. Anyway, I'm excited. Today is our biggest day of elevation that we know of so far, and it looks like it's going to rain again, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time.
Finally ready. Sorry for holding you up.
Oh, it's okay. I got to record. I should put my gloves on. April 28th in the morning. Do you remember the name of the town we're in? Boy, that's a great question.
That's a great question. I can look it up while you're...
Oh, okay, while we're talking. Well, Nick and I are just leaving whatever town we're in. Tonight was our first night on this trip, staying in a monastery, which is fun, but...
Markina.
Markina.
M-A-R-K-I-N-A.
And there is a shrine in Markina that this town is kind of famous for, that is a big building, but it has huge stones inside of it.
Boulders, really?
Boulders, and there's a statue of St. James sheltered underneath them. Because of our miscalculation, we're going to be going just over 20 miles today.
Yeah, not a flat day either.
Not a flat day, but we've got a nice cool start in the morning. And we had a spectacular hangout with some friends last night. We hung out with the same group in Deba. So now we're heading out now. They're behind us, but they'll eventually catch up, I'm sure.
There's that funny balance between are we having a great time, or are you just putting up with me? And I don't know why I have that, because I don't feel that way about anybody else. I don't feel like, hey, that person keeps sneaking into the group. I don't feel like anything like that. But I keep thinking like, oh,
Sort of imposter syndrome.
yeah, right. They don't want me here. I don't know why. That's terrible.
It's one of the things I'm trying to work through in my daily life. And something I'm trying to work through here is to just accept I'm in the group. People want me here. I'm welcome. It's one of the superpowers of a podcaster is that you can get really fascinated in minutia and love to talk about whatever, small thing.
And real things, not little
real
things.
But it does mean that sometimes, I have to pace myself with the information I give out. So I'm trying to trust myself more and be like, your stuff you have to say is interesting. You're going to have a great time.
And I think there are some people who really appreciate it and keep gravitating towards us. And I really appreciate that little bit of social feedback where you see the same people and they kind of warm up to you a little bit.
I noticed sort of my Sermon on the Mount skills have been tested, as they always are when you're staying in a hostel. As people get up and shuffle around or talk, I'm trying to be quick to forgive, not to give people cold stares, as much as possible.
Yeah, I've had, I think at least twice, people say, oh, you're not the typical American. You're kind, you're nice, you're quiet.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. So, okay, yeah, thank you.
Huh.
So I think everybody's doing that. Well, how you doing with your goals so far, you think?
Oh, okay. I think it's hard when I'm tired to think clearly or to go easy on myself. I was beating myself up a lot for leaving my bag at the restaurant last night, being overly apologetic, but it is something that we all do. We're carrying a lot of individual items and it's hard to keep them straight.
Yeah. And they're kind of precious.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure because I left the microphones in the bag. Like it would have been an expensive loss. Oh, it's like a troll's bridge here to our left.
Yeah, beautiful ancient bridge, stone bridge.
I've been trying to remember to pray on the trail as I go. Ask God for specific things, kind of give things over as much as possible. But that can be really hard when you're this tired.
Yeah.
So I've been praying the Lord's Prayer a fair bit, which has been such a good standby to give me some way to focus when I'm this tired and also pray. How about you? How are your goals going?
Some wins, some losses, which, this early in the game, it's not so bad. I'm sad that it took me like 4 or 5 days to really feel calm. And it was almost a shocking moment where it's like, oh, I feel fine. I never feel fine.
Yeah.
And that's really sad. I'm thankful for the opportunity to slow down, and I'd like to be more relaxed in my real life and not have to come out here.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that we get to come out here. It's wonderful. I'd still like to come out here, but I'd like to not have to come out here.
We made our way up a long hill to a monastery where some of our acquaintances spent the night. Apparently, it was not a good place to stay. Dinner was just some noodles and bread, not enough to feed hungry pilgrims. But it was a wonderful, cool place to take off our shoes, stretch, and get to know some of our new friends, including a young man who's done a lot of big hikes in the United States, like the Appalachian Trail.
So we're inside of a monastery here, and what is your name?
My name is Ben Craver. I'm from the United States, or specifically New Hampshire.
Fantastic. And what brings you out here?
So I am doing the Camino del Norte with my mom. I've done previous hikes and have enjoyed it with other people, but my mom has not been back to Spain since the 1970s, and I finally asked her, like, hey, would you like to come out and do this hike with me? So it's very significant in the role that she wants to see a place that she's already been, but we also get to make a core memory of mother-son doing this hike. So it's pretty profound in that aspect. So.
Yeah. You almost fit an archetype of a kind of person on the trail, somebody who has done a lot of hikes and has a lot of experience. Why do you do so many hikes? What draws you to it?
There's the beauty of each trail, and then there's also all the people you meet, because these kind of trips bring people you normally would not meet in your day-to-day life. So as soon as I get done, and especially with the amount of trails that I've done, you could throw a dart at the map and I will know somebody, or I can just easily make a new friend. But it's nice having that camaraderie. It's also great to restore my faith in humanity, because generally, well, everybody's looking out for each other out here. So, and it's an idealism, and it's a good refresher of, like, you know, people are people and they want to actually be kind and see you succeed in life.
Does the normal life in New Hampshire like cut down on your faith in humanity?
No, I think right now I'm definitely going through like a transition of, I've been doing it for a good 10 years now. And I'm at a point where I want to give myself to something new. I'm at that plateau looking at the mountaintop, and, you know, I'm glad that I've done as much as I can. I won't say I will ever do a through hike again, but it's certainly, I can't do one where it's 6 months out of my time. Because there are people that are important in my life that I also want to see at home. So I'm certainly in that transition, but like, I really do like coming back home because it's meaningful. And then I can also tell my story and my journeys of like how wonderful these things are and what they've done for me.
When you're on a religious pilgrimage, we left a monastery this morning where we were in the same hostel in Marquina, and we're in one now. Is there any kind of religious aspect to why you're out here?
I certainly struggle. So I grew up Roman Catholic, and it was a part of myself where it taught me good morals of how to be kind to people, and like, these are the basic values of my life. But it's certainly because of our area and our relationship with the church, without me going into detail, it's kind of a shaky ground in New England. But like, I'm finding my way through spiritualism and understanding that more. I think what's hard for me though is I tend to lean more into realism and that kind of stuff, so it's hard for me to understand that kind of concept.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I'm figuring it out.
Okay.
So yeah. But I do like the power it gives people to believe in something bigger than themselves.
Sure.
So that's what I can get behind.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me today.
Yeah, it was great talking with you too.
What a great location for an interview.
In this wonderful little monastery with the shells that are the St. James Way, and it just has so much meaning.
Yeah.
But
and a lawnmower.
Yeah,
just to bring you back to the modern world.
Bring us back to the modern world.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
I'm sitting on the floor of a Rusky grocery store. We are 7 or 8 kilometers away from our destination, our hostel for tonight, and the town we're in now is actually very expensive, so we have decided to push on. In Spain, they don't like you to bring bags into the grocery store, at least not the ones we've been to, and so there are these cubbies where you can lock up your bags, but our bags are too big for the cubbies. So I'm sitting tucked into a corner by those little cubbies next to all the grocery carts with my bag and my brother's bag, leaving a little trace of mud with me on the floor. It's one of the great joys of doing this trail over, say, the PCT, the AT. You have access to stores, and you're burning a lot of calories and your body hurts. And the idea of having a cold drink, nothing better. But first, you have to wait your turn.
As we walked, the days started to bleed together, which is kind of nice, forgetting if it's Monday or Thursday. I watched as Nick entertained tables of people with jokes and stories. We hiked alone and with people we might never see again, finally reaching the city we flew into.
Getting microphones applied?
Oh boy. Well, you've joined Nick and Chris Darren on the most difficult day of our hike, the one where we have to sit still.
On a trail this is known as 0 day, we've chosen to kind of fight for our 0 day, even though there are a lot of temptations to keep going. We're in Bilbao. Last night I went with the group out to dinner. We had a really wonderful meal. I had the fish of the day, which was a sea bass with potatoes. There are a few different things that struck me. One was they are all younger than me. They are using ChatGPT to try to make decisions for them about what to see. And I was like, guys, let's just pick a place, instead of getting overwhelmed with a bunch of computer-generated information and have the computer tell them what to do based on their algorithms. I found a place that was on a park across from the Guggenheim. One of them had heard my episodes about D.L. Moody and William Bell Riley. I tried to give him something in season 6 to listen to, but for some reason he chose something in season 5, which is fine. But he kind of wanted to talk about fundamentalism, and he's much more of a sort of live and let live kind of guy. We were walking through the fundamentalist thing, and I was trying to bring it back to this is what the gospel actually is. This is what Christians really believe. And it's hard for him to grasp the idea that it's possible for one thing to be right. You know, I think it's one of the common threads we see on the trail when we talk to people. You know, they tend to be like nominally Buddhist, which is like sort of Buddhism without any of the rules.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of rules in Buddhism.
Rules.
Or they tend to be sort of like nature is my God. They can be atheists. They can also be nominally Christian. Whereas like I grew up in a family that was Christian, but I don't actually believe any of it. Or I think that Christianity is sort of a nationalism or is like an identity that passes down through generation rather than a personal belief. And so I think he was struggling with the personal belief step. So we were talking about ideas, we were talking about the gospel, and I kept trying to bring it back to this is what the gospel actually is. And
because if there is truth in the world, then something else has to be wrong.
Yeah, it just has to be. And I think deeply inside we all know that something has to be wrong. Just by the fact of saying, by having a discussion and you having any viewpoint and disagreeing with any other viewpoint, you know that something is wrong. I'm having a wonderful time. I'm still really tired. I've fallen behind on my journaling, but I'm having a nice time. I just wish I were more rested.
Yeah, I got a lot of sleep and I still feel a little depleted, but do feel stronger. And it's nice to, some of the things I was talking about at the beginning of the trail, trying to wrestle through, give up to God. It's nice to take time to actually do that. And even last night with you going off, it's like to be with everybody. It's like I have to listen to my body in this moment. I have to pray through the things that I need to pray through. I need to take care of the things that I need to take care of. And it's fine. Like being okay with that, because that fear of missing out is one of the things I wrestle with.
But it's funny, it feels like a theme of what we talked about has been, it's okay to make a decision and be okay with the decision.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Well, see, there's the podcaster and bringing everything back around.
Let's go to the ad break.
That's right, yeah.
Being okay with accepting that there's a 0 day and we're going to miss some of the trail. Being okay picking the right restaurant. And then at some point on the trail, one of the hardest things, and the rest of the gang was struggling with this, being okay with the idea that we are all eventually going to probably split up.
Yeah.
And there are going to be long periods where we don't see each other. And some of these, you may never see some of these people again.
Right.
But trying to come to grips with that and being okay with, it's okay to have people in your lives for just a moment. Yeah. Enjoy it, let it be what it is, and don't be so desperate to grab onto it that you ruin it.
Which is something I struggled with on our first Camino. We met so many amazing people, many of which I'm still messaging 3 years later. But when we parted ways and still had a few weeks of hiking left, I was really sad. Disproportionately sad for how little time we'd actually known them. Probably because we talked about really deep things and connected over a shared experience. Maybe you're starting to see why these trips are so special to me. Despite the pain in my feet and the frustrations in sleeping in hostels or trying to find a bathroom, it is a productive way to connect with people who are wrestling with big questions. In the next episode, we'll discover some of the cults that prey on pilgrims. I'll take in religious celebrations, swim in the chilly waters of the Atlantic, and get real with some more people. As you go on your journey this week, think about the people around you. What obstacles are they trying to surmount? How can you be the church to them? Even though we're traveling by car or sitting in an office or sleeping in our own beds, we're all on a path, which means we need to look out for each other. Keep your eyes open for opportunities to come alongside your fellow pilgrim and lend them a hand. A very special thanks to my brother, who is an encourager and pushed me to record even when I was tired. I'm also indebted to all the people who let me interview them on this trail. Thanks to all of you who give a little each month to help me make this show. It's probably asking a lot to say, let me take a long vacation in Spain while you give $10 a month. But hopefully, you can hear how life-giving these hikes are for me. It's great to be able to connect in person with real people from all over the world. And these trips are cheap. Some nights I paid €10 for a bed, and often we ate sandwiches and cookies from grocery stores to keep the cost down. I could only do it because of your financial support, which also paid for the small microphones I used to record this episode. If you want more of this kind of out-of-the-box podcasting, consider giving a little each month to help me make Truce. $10 goes a long way. Learn how at trucepodcast.com/donate. If you want to see pictures of our hike, visit the website at trucepodcast.com and search for the episode. I'll also be posting photos on social media. Thanks also to Diane for getting my mail while I was gone, and for covering for Nick so he could come as well. Truce is a production of Truce Media, LLC. God willing, I'll be back in 2 weeks with the conclusion of this story. I'm Chris Staron, and this is Truce.